This is AEW Dynamite and we are live once again on TNT in front of a sold out GCU arena. Thank you for joining us for quite the lineup here tonight. After beating the Young Bucks at Full Gear to become the best team in the world, we'll see footage after FTR and Page left the ring last week, and we'll also see them in action a bit later here tonight. Plus, what does EC3 have planned? What is his narrative after he was unveiled as the masked man for MJF last week? Also, what an impact Marty Scurll and his Villain Enterprises have made. Twice now they have gotten the better of Cody. Will they make it a third in tonight's main event as Cody steps into the ring to take on Brody King? Also, Jon Moxley is back and in action for the first time since retaining his World Championship at Full Gear. But up next, kicking the action off, is the Inner Circle against the Dark Order. And joining us on commentary, Chris Jericho. Let's get this show on the road. So a decent 55 segment rating there from the commentary team. Not a bad start, to be fair, as we take a look then at what to expect on tonight's show. FTR and Hangman Page teaming up once again after their successful victory over Death Triangle last week. Also in tonight's main event, Cody stepping into the ring to go one-on-one with Villain Enterprises' Brody King. Now that should be quite the match. Also, what is EC3's narrative? Hopefully we're going to find out a bit later here tonight after he did attack MJF in his dressing down last week. Also, the champion Jon Moxley returns. What is up next for the AEW World Champion? And also, BRANDI RHODES has an announcement. We're going to hear from BRANDI a bit later on. This is something that maybe I should have done quite a few weeks back now here in this save. And finally, up next, the Inner Circle against the Dark Order. Sammy Guevara, who beat Brody Lee last week, teams with Jeff Cobb to take on Evil Uno and Stu Grayson of the Dark Order. So before we get into that match, Judas plays, the crowd singing along, and out comes Le Champion, Chris Jericho, decked in his finest jacket, flanked by Jeff Cobb and Sammy Guevara. He then heads over to the commentary desk as Guevara and Cobb make their way to the ring. This gets to 73, does its job. We're involving Chris Jericho. Anything he touches turns to gold almost. Pity we can't hear him on commentary on TEW. But in a decent match, it's the Dark Order that overcomes Jeff Cobb and Sammy Guevara in just under 15 minutes. So starting the night off with a bang. It's Evil Uno that pins Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara defeating the Exalted One last week, and now Evil Uno getting one over him with a quick roll-up. And it was Sammy Guevara that was head and shoulders above everyone else. I felt as though we need to get Jeff Cobb a bit more involved inside that ring, as quite recently he's hardly been involved, if only in an angle. So this segment rating with a 58, not our strongest match to kick off Dynamite, as that is the pattern I like to work with, what AEW do in real life, you know, kick the show off strong, setting the tone, if you will. And then outside in the parking area, we see the Inner Circle limo, and walking into shot, Darby Allin holding his skateboard. Darby returning last week to AEW. He says, "Hey Chris, nice ride." Then he proceeds to use his skateboard as a weapon, smashing the wing mirrors off, denting the doors. He stands back from the hood, smokes at the camera and throws his skateboard straight at the windscreen. It smashes and gets stuck in the middle. On the underside of the skateboard there is the Inner Circle logo with a big spray painted X through it. Jericho is in the ring, losing his mind at what he has just witnessed. Sammy holding him back and saying, "We'll get him." So Darby scoring a 71 with this segment here, attacking the Inner Circle limo. As we move into our next segment, footage that was taken at the end of last week's Dynamite is shown of Dax, Cash and Hangman Page walking back behind the curtain, holding their beers. Tully is there to greet them. He looks proud and shakes hands with them. He says, Now you boys are together, how about we get some gold around those waists? Dax, Cash, you two are the toughest son bitches this industry has known for some time. I can't see why you can't be the next World Tag Team Champions. And Paige, you have future World Champion written all over you. Yeah, you lost the first ever World title match last year, but it's time to forget that. You're better now than you was then. Plus, you have us now, a platform for you to build your empire upon. Let's celebrate tonight, then we get back to work. So as things stand, it looks like Tully going to be the mentor for the three. Hangman Page and FTR. And Tully wanting FTR to become the next World Tag Team Champions. Hangman Page, the next AEW Champion. Imagine putting the title on Page. He came so close last year at All Out against Jericho in real life. Could he be the next challenger for Jon Moxley's title in this series? You guys are just going to have to stay tuned. Nice to see that Tully helped Dax and Cash during this segment. I haven't seen that yet on TEW this year. We get 69 for that. And up next, speaking of FTR, they are in action against Jurassic Express. And of course, it's FTR that go over. They defeat Jurassic Express in 8:47. Cash pinning Luchasaurus with a Goodnight Express. Tully Blanchard interfering in this match. And they were fantastic, scoring a 70-72 there, FTR. Bit disappointing on Jurassic Express's side of things. In the 30s there, if we have a look at the dirt sheet. Are there any penalties? Just a few. Jungle Boy inexperience, trying to go all out. Low morale as well. I'm trying my best to get these, the likes of Best Friends, Jurassic Express and so on, back on Dynamite. So this match gets a 66. Really happy with that. It's quite a strong match, to be fair. And then up next, we see Matt Hardy. He is shown standing outside of his compound. Remember what happened last week with his beatdown from Lance Archer. He goes on to say, Lance Archer, Jake, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you for last week. Last week you both made me realise who and what I need to be. No more Broken Man or Big Money Man or V1. The one thing that stuck with me throughout all of those characters, which has been embedded in me since I was born, is the fact that I will not die. You say you want to test that, Lance? Let's do it. Next week on Dynamite. So Matt Hardy laying down the challenge to the Murderhawk monster, Lance Archer. Will he be fit enough after the beatdown last week in the locker room? You know, Lance Archer busting him wide open, leaving Matt Hardy in a pool of his own blood. We'll have to wait and see. Matt Hardy getting a 61 there. I was expecting a bit more from Matt Hardy, as he is quite brilliant on promos. As up next, we switch to backstage and we see both Nick and Matt Jackson, the Young Bucks, looking as though they are waiting for someone. They're talking between themselves. Matt Jackson says, look, I'm not sure now is the right time for him to come back. And after seeing Paige with those FTR boys, he's got to come back eventually. He's got to face this situation at some point. I'm just not sure his head is in the right place at the moment. You saw him yesterday. Let's just see how it goes tonight. If it's as you say, we'll speak to Tony Khan and see about putting him on holiday. That's if he ever turns up. Where the hell is he? Matt just shrugs. Cody walks in and then says, guys, listen, I'm sure you're well aware of what happened last week. We need to deal with Marty and his villains tonight. You got my back? Sure, man. So this gets a segment rating of 81. Really happy with that. It's the inclusion of Cody, I think, that's bumped that one up. Some of his promos that we got from Cody in the build-up to his match with CM Punk were fantastic. Between, 85 up towards the 90s at least. And having Matt and Nick in there as well certainly helped matters. And speaking of the Rhodes, Brandi Rhodes comes out to the top of the entranceway with a mic in hand, and she goes on to say, the women backstage are incredible. Some of the finest I've ever gotten the chance to work with and will continue to work with, because as of tonight, after speaking with Cody and Tony Khan, I'm taking the reins of this division. My first order of business is to congratulate Toni Storm for her marvellous win at Full Gear. The hard work doesn't end there though, because on the final edition of Dynamite this year over in the UK, where you learn a lot of your trade, you will put that title on the line in a fatal 4-way. Start tonight, we will determine your 3 challengers. So the plan here is, this week we'll have a one-on-one match, next week another one-on-one, and then the following week, the week before we head over to the UK, we'll have a battle royale to determine that final 3rd challenger to make up the numbers for that match over in the UK. So in a terrible match, Britt Baker defeats Yuka Sakazaki in just under 11 minutes by submission. So she advances to the UK. She will face Toni Storm for her AEW Women's Championship, along with 2 others that are yet to be determined. We'll find out the 2nd competitor next week as part of this BRANDI RHODES Women's Division Initiative. So looking forward to that. This segment getting a 30, bit disappointing, but as planned, the match did bring the fans down a little. We are working to a hot crowd here at the moment, as up next the Inner Circle are seen racing towards the parking area outside where their limo got smashed up by Darby Allin. As they head outside, they see it. Chris Jericho is almost in pieces. Sammy Guevara is just stood there in shock, and Santana and Ortiz want revenge, saying, "We should go find him, take him out, finish him." Headlights turn on, and an SUV screams out of a parking space, running down Santana, Ortiz, and Sammy Guevara. Jericho can't believe what he is witnessing. The SUV turns around and drives past slowly. The window rolls down, and at the wheel is Brody Lee. Jericho lunges, but Brody races off. Security, refs, medics rush to the scene. Jericho is on his own. So Brody Lee in his SUV again. Remember, he drove past in that street fight that Jericho had with Darby Allin back at Halloween Havoc. And here he is again, but this time running down 3 members of Chris Jericho's Inner Circle. Could put them out of action for some time, hopefully not. You guys are just going to have to stay tuned to find out what happens next. Get a segment rating of 57 here. Jericho coming across well. And I think this just advances that character a bit more of Brody Lee and what he's willing to do. And that he will not stop at anything. He will not let anything get in his way like the Inner Circle. And now it seems that Chris Jericho is all alone. Then we see Pac walking backstage, getting ready for his TNT Championship match tonight, when he walks past Orange Cassidy, who is sat in a chair looking asleep. "You're a disgrace." Orange Cassidy looks up and replies with, "I'm sorry, did you say something?" Pac can't believe that Orange Cassidy just spoke to him that way. Orange gets up, stares Pac down and says, "Good luck in your match tonight," then walks off with his hands in his pockets. So these 2, if you remember, did fight it out for the TNT Championship not so long ago. And it was Pac that retained his title against Orange Cassidy. I do want to get Orange Cassidy a bit more involved, so you can expect to see him a bit more over the coming weeks. But Orange Cassidy getting up and responding to Pac in that way, saying, "I'm sorry, did you say something?" It's totally out of character. You know, Cassidy looking as though he was asleep, getting the best out of Cassidy. You know, we see it with Jericho at the moment in real life. And hopefully we can kind of do something like that with this story that's being told here against Pac. Well, Pac does make defense number 7 of his TNT Championship title, overcoming the challenge of Matthew Justice, who makes his AEW Dynamite debut. It was a win within 30 minutes 28 after a shooting star press. Pac with an 84. Matthew Justice's debut, his mercenary gimmick, it was an adequate initial rating. Let's have a look at the penalties there. Stamina inconsistency for Justice. Jarrett Lynn was our road agent for this match, which got 72. I'm really happy with that, actually. And in this match, Orange Cassidy was at ringside. He did get involved, almost costing Pac his TNT title, which leads us then into our next segment. After the match, Pac calls for a mic and he goes on to say, "Where are you, Cassidy? You little shit. You almost cost me my TNT Championship. Come on, show yourself. You were happy to do so a minute ago." Orange Cassidy rolls into the ring without Pac knowing. When Pac turns around, Cassidy lays him out with a Superman punch. Pac rolls out the ring holding his jaw in shock. Cassidy, with his shades on, looks down at the TNT Championship that Pac dropped, picks it up and places it over his shoulder, then puts his thumb up. Would be a great photo opportunity that. He drops it to the outside, which Pac collects, then backs off up the entranceway, seething at being made to look like a fool. That's the main thing with Orange Cassidy. You just cannot underestimate Orange Cassidy. As this segment gets a 69, Pac clearly enjoying having the freedom to go off script. Orange Cassidy benefit from having that groundswell of public support. Could we see Orange Cassidy challenge for the TNT Championship again? We will have to wait and see. As we roll into our next segment, which gets an 84, it is with Jon Moxley, who retained his AEW World Championship at Full Gear. He's seen stood in front of some chain fencing, and he goes on to say, as if Full Gear wasn't enough, now you want more, Maxwell. When are you going to realise, Maxwell, that you're not ready? Go scream and shout at all you want, Mommy and Daddy, or Wardlow, but you ain't getting a rematch. Not for a long time. Besides, I think you need to sort your problems out with EC3 first. Mox smirks, then walks off. His music begins to play in the arena. So we get a quick little promo from Moxley before his match, before he returns to in-ring competition here in AEW. He was last seen at Full Gear, as we know, 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, depends how you want to look at it. He was a real star in this segment, getting an 84. And in about that had good wrestling and decent reaction from the crowd, it is Jon Moxley that defeats Ricky Starks in 6 minutes 44 after a paradigm shift. So Moxley still banging form at the moment. He is looking untouchable after he overcame MJF and Wardlow over the last month or so, 2 months. Remember that cage match against Wardlow at Halloween Havoc? It was done to a hot crowd. Not even a penalty for this match, which is just fantastic to see. Not very often you see that, actually. And then after the match, Brian Cage slides into the ring and attacks Mox from behind, eventually laying him out with the drill claw. Taz watches on, smiling, these two teaming up back at Full Gear in the buy-in. Ricky Starks starts to join in, putting in a few kicks on the champion. Taz then steps into the ring in between Cage and Starks. Then EC3 rushes out to the ring. Looks like he has come to Mox's defence. Taz, Cage and Starks just step back. EC3 looks down at Mox, helps him to his feet, then hits his underhook facebuster. He says underhook facebuster. And then EC3 stands with Taz, Cage and Starks. What does this mean? And just quickly change that to underhook. Doesn't really matter anyway. You guys know what it's supposed to say. But you can just imagine Taz, EC3, Brian Cage, Ricky Starks. Although EC3 did not do well with that script, Ricky Starks came out of this not looking good either. But Taz grabs a mic and he goes on to say, "Hey Mox, looks like it's you that needs to sort the EC3 problem. Because as of now, he is Team Taz as well as the absolute Ricky Starks." So we're having a quick little spin on what's happening in real life with Team Taz. And who's to say we're going to be stopping at just 3 members? Could expand even more. We'll have to wait and see where this goes in the coming weeks, in the coming months. Stay tuned. And for tonight's main event, in a bout that had fantastic heat and good wrestling, Cody defeats Brody King in 11 minutes 13 by pinfall with a fast roll-up. So Brody King comes out of this one still looking decent. It wasn't really that much of a decisive win for Cody. He didn't go out there and just completely dominate and completely squash Brody King. I did set it to an open match as well. You can see Cody getting a 77. Brody King with a respectable 62 there. When we have a look at the dirt sheet, Brody King was penalised for being inexperienced, and that was it really. Cody penalised for inconsistency. Again, a really good match on Dynamite. We get 77. It was done to a hot crowd, so that certainly helps matters. That's one of the things with AEW as well. They actually have winners. Matches don't just end in that sports entertainment sort of finish. Well, after the quick pinfall, everything then descends into chaos. Marty Scurll slides into the ring and goes for Cody, who fights back. Brody King looks to join in, but Matt and Nick Jackson stop him in his tracks with a double super kick. It's an all-out brawl. The bell is going, the ref trying to stop it. Then jumping over the fan barricade, we see both Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. It's the Good Brothers. They both slide into the ring and attack Cody, Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson. The Good Brothers look at Marty and Brody. Marty has a mic and says, "You remember these fellas too? Nick, Matt, Cody? Seems you forgot about them also. That's okay, because they're here now and with Villain Enterprises." Villain Enterprises do the too sweet in the middle of the ring to end this week's episode of AEW Dynamite. So there we have it. Marty Scurll, Brody King, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows are Villain Enterprises, and it doesn't look like they're going away anytime soon. And what a lot of history all these men have in their time over in New Japan, Ring of Honor. Hopefully I can do the story justice as this segment gets a 78. It's a strong way to end the show for this week. Really happy with that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's go and see how well we've done then this week. So, a 78. That's better than last week. So we have improved coming off Full Gear. That's really good to see. Really must say that this episode and last week's episode, I think it's got to be some of my my favourite work that I've done on TW in this save so far, and I hope that's coming across for you guys watching. I feel as though it's very close to what AEW were trying to accomplish before the coronavirus hit and everything pretty much went down the pan really. And again, I just hope that is coming across in these videos. Well, let's go and see how we've got on then with our TV ratings this week. So, even better than last week. A 2.23 TV rating with a total of 1.673 million viewers. Over on TNT, we had a 1.56 TV rating with 1.1, almost 1.2 million viewers tuning in. Let's have a look at NXT then. So we score the exact same show rating with NXT, but again, they've beaten us in viewers, in their viewership, getting a total of 1.8 million viewers, whereas we come up just short. Anyway, that is it for this episode of AEW Dynamite. Remember, no AEW Dark until the new year. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you all soon for the next one. Thanks for watching.